Hey guys, it's your favorite sisters with the Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver podcast. On the show, you'll hear caregivers confessing the good, the bad, and the completely unexpected. You're guaranteed to relate, be inspired, leave with helpful tips and resources, and of course, laugh. Now, let's get to today's confession. Well, hello, Miss JJ.
Well, hello, Natalie.
You know, I wish your sister was here, but she's not able to be here today. And that's sad.
I know, because we have a guest that has children. And so while we have dogs, Emily, of course, has the 3 kids, and she understands, while motherhood is one thing, being a caregiver for a child with disabilities or differing abilities, that's another case entirely. So we have a great guest today.
I'm so excited too. And she's hot back off a trip. She is proving that you can have a life and be a caregiver. And we're going to hit on that. So Jay, why don't you tell us about awesome Jessica Patay?
I am ready. I know. So Jessica is the founder and executive director of We Are Brave Together. And that is an organization that supports caregiving moms with children of all types of disabilities. Their mission is to combat the isolation and burnout that these moms and their families face. But like everybody, it starts with a caregiving story. Mm-hmm. Jessica's life as a caregiving mom began at the birth of her second son, Ryan. And right away, they knew something was not right. At 1 month, Ryan was diagnosed with a failure to thrive. And at 5 weeks, the family received an answer, a diagnosis of Prader-Willi Syndrome. The rare disorder is a lifetime disability requiring 24/7 supervision and care. Today, Jessica says the vigilance needed to care and protect Ryan can be exhausting. But she says something else, Natalie, and we say it a lot. She says sometimes she wishes she could just be Ryan's mom and not his full-time caregiver. Like I say, sometimes I just wish I could be a daughter. You say sometimes you wish you could be a wife.
Yep.
Jessica, we are so glad to have you here. There's so much to talk about.
I'm already just giggling being in your orbit. It's just so good to be with you both. And I appreciate what you're doing. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my caregiving story.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, you have other kids. First of all, how many of there are you?
I know, right? I have 3 kids that feel like 4.
Okay.
That's what I say.
Wait, is your husband counted in one of the kid count?
No, he's not. So that we are a family of 5 and 2 dogs. My oldest is Luke, and he's 22. He's a senior in college. Mm-hmm. My special one with Prader-Willi Syndrome is Ryan. He is 20, and he is in the transition program with our school district until he turns 22. Mm-hmm. And then I have Kate, who is 18 and is a senior in high school.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you stair-stepped your children just like us. We're stair-stepped.
Yes.
The sisters and I, because I don't want to say somebody's 40, it's JJ. And I'm 47, Emily's 45. And JJ just had a birthday. So technically, we're all normally about 2 years apart.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
I know, right?
So great.
The oldest looks the youngest, but it's fine. I love that. So we're going to ask you about kind of like how it started. I mean, you had Luke. And you're a mom and you're all like, let's have another child. Let's do it. And then you have Ryan and you're like, not the same and different experience, lots of probably uncertainty. But this is interesting because we had some sisters on and their brother, Buddy, was the second born of the 4 of them, 3 girls and a boy. You and your husband decided to have another child, even with the struggle. So let's kind of unpack all that good stuff.
Oh, sure. Well, when I was pregnant with Ryan, we actually didn't know if we were having a boy or girl. The first time around, I was like, okay, motherhood is enough. I need to know what we're having. I've got to decorate the nursery. I've got to be all set up for Luke. So we knew we were having a boy. Second time around, I deferred to my husband. He said, look, let's have it be a surprise. And I actually think it was a blessing in disguise because when you know the sex, you start dreaming and scheming, right? And you just start thinking about it. And I didn't know. So I didn't have any visions per se of Luke and his baby brother or baby sister. I just, of course, envisioned our family. Yeah. And when I was pregnant with 2, I was like, 2 is good. One-on-one, we're just going to stop at 2. That sounds really good. Yeah. That sounds doable. That sounds like I can control it. What a joke, right?
Yeah, right.
Even I heard control. That was control. Did you say control?
Control? What's that word? Anyway, so then when Ryan was born, he didn't cry. When he was born, this stood out to me. Newborns scream bloody murder when they are pushed out of their little comfortable sack. And he cried for a few seconds and stopped. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Because Luke, I remember very vividly when Luke was born. And I thought, well, maybe I got a sleepy, easy newborn.
Right.
And so, quickly he had some breathing problems right away when he was born. They whisked him away. We knew that his testicles were undescended, which wasn't completely uncommon. I still wasn't completely alerted. But then he couldn't suck and he didn't cry and he didn't wake up for food. Like most newborns will wake up because they're wet, because they're hungry, because they need something. And Ryan didn't. He was just a very, very sleepy baby. He was only 1 pound lighter than Luke. So even though they were kind of treating him as if he were small for his gestational age and treating him like a preemie, he wasn't a preemie. He was full term.
Yeah.
But he couldn't suck and he could hardly move. And so I got discharged on day 3 and he got transferred to the peds ward, which is where we lived for a month while we were trying to figure out what was going on with him.
So first of all, when I read your info, it said they say he has failure to thrive, which, is really an interesting diagnosis. Okay. But on the 5th week, they finally gave you a diagnosis, which I'm thinking is a blessing and a curse. You get it and that's a good thing, but then you're like, oh, we've got it. So now we know what we have to deal with. So what is the diagnosis? Tell us about that because it's rare.
Yeah, it is rare. It's 1 in 10 to 15,000. So it encompasses a lot of things. And I always say there's no cocktail party answer to explain it, but babies are born with low muscle tone, which is why Ryan couldn't cry and couldn't suck and could hardly move. Now it's a spectrum. So some are very, very, very low tone and some are less. Ryan had to go home with a feeding tube when we were discharged when he was a month old because he couldn't catch up. We were working with a feeding specialist. There are occupational therapists that are feeding specialists. And, there's 1,000 things that go into your mouth being able to suck. And he couldn't do it. So we ended up with a feeding tube. The early years in PWS are focused on milestones because everything is delayed. So feeding, walking, sitting, moving, speech. So we had OT, PT, and speech pretty much right away. We had OT right away, then PT, I think by the time he was 2 months, and then speech by the time he was 1 year. Yeah. So you're very focused on all of that. Ryan didn't walk till he was 3. He got on growth hormone when he was 2.5 months old because that is specifically indicated for PWS to help with height and gaining lean muscle. And even with all the interventions, he still didn't walk till 3, which is very late even for PWS. So the early years, it's just about those gross motor and fine motor and speech milestones. Now, what makes the news, what makes it crazy and interesting is that in childhood, there's an insatiable food drive that kicks in. So the brain and the body do not tell kids and adults with the syndrome that they've had any food. They don't feel full.
Yeah.
Now, Ryan doesn't say I'm hungry, but he is definitely food seeking and he definitely will need reassurance about the food schedule and who is feeding
even
him.
to this day, right?
Even to this day.
Even to this day.
So when we read about that piece, the food drive, it's life-threatening. There are kids and adults that eat themselves into a medical emergency every year, several times a year. That is why 24/7 supervision is essential. Plus, we live with a locked kitchen. When Ryan goes to school, everything there is locked as well. And somebody is always watching him at school. Somebody is always watching him at home. So there's a vigilance that I live with. Because
I know we talked about that, which was so interesting when we had our first conversation about the locked refrigerator, because we always talk about family and you've got the 2 other kids, your husband, you, everything being locked. How does that impact the rest of the family? Is everyone just, okay, the fridge is locked, we want to get something to eat? How does a day look like to you guys? Because Ryan has anxiety about not being able to eat. What does a day look like for you when you all are, the whole family, going through that vigilance?
Right. It's harder when everyone is here because I'm the most vigilant. Everyone does a fantastic job, but I'm the most vigilant. So having one away at college is kind of nice because he's up late at night. And again, he does a great job, but we can all get distracted. What it looks like is that you're unlocking and locking 10,000 times a day. And when Ryan was 13 was when we had to start locking the kitchen, which is much later than I envisioned when I read all about it when he was diagnosed at 5 weeks of age. Yeah. I thought, oh my gosh, it's good. It's going to hit like when he's 3, 4, 5, 6. And I was always waiting for the shoe to drop. Yeah. It was a very slow burn. It was a slow increased interest in food. And then by the time he was 13, we caught him. I think he had taken 7 protein bars from the pantry. The wrappers were under his bed. We're like, okay, it's time. Yeah. So, we announced to the family, this is what we're going to have to do. And everyone's like, but you know what? We adapted within a couple of days. Yeah. Everybody just got on board because they know it is to protect him. It's not about weight loss or protecting his weight, although we have to do that for sure in PWS. It's about his safety. Yeah. And also, when you have a locked kitchen in the world of PWS, it decreases their anxiety because there is no hope that they can get food. If there's hope for access, it increases their anxiety, increases their behaviors. Ryan says, thank you for locking the kitchen.
Oh, wow. And you've never had CPS called on you?
No.
That's, you like how I just said, and you've never had CPS called on you.
They're like, because thank you for locking the kitchen.
You think about abuse and neglect, and you think about outsiders, because that's the other thing as a caregiver, you're having to make changes. So you have there's caregiving, like we're caregivers for a mom. I'm a caregiver for my husband. And we also have, because it's dual role. We just, I absorb my dual role. I accept it. I embrace it. I am. And I know you accept your dual role. Yeah. I'm a mom and I'm a caregiver. Yeah. Because this is not what parents would traditionally, I don't want to say normally, because I hate that word normally. What would they traditionally do? You don't have to do these things. And so you're putting on your mom and your caregiver hat at the same time. And I'd say at times, can you even tell the difference at this point?
No, it's very hard for me to separate. It's very hard for me to even separate PWS from Ryan. And I remember hearing when he was little, eventually you will see your child without PWS, but it's very hard for me to see Ryan without it because he's affected cognitively, intellectually, emotionally. He's not, he asks some really great questions that are age appropriate and deep and thoughtful and compassionate. But then, sometimes he still has tantrums and he still has meltdowns because of a change or because, someone walked into the family room and wants to use the TV, and he thinks he owns the TV. So, it's hard to separate being his mom and being his caregiver. It's very hard.
So tell me about, you've been married for 16 years. How long have you been married?
26 years.
26 years. Sorry, wait a minute. No, I was numbers. It's been 16 years since you went on vacation. Sorry, long time.
Yes. Yeah. 16 years since we had a significant amount of time away alone.
Okay. So longer married. That's right. So, but tell me about as far as because it's so hard for you all at times to get away, but tell me about relationships, because the one I'm interested in is because we know it impacts spouses, but your other kids.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I so appreciate you bringing up the siblings. I'm extremely passionate about the siblings in a disability family, or siblings who have a sibling that seems to take up all the air and space and energy because of a diagnosis or struggle. Yeah. Thankfully, I read early on about the siblings. And so my husband and I were always very intentional about taking one-on-one trips with Luke and Kate, having one-on-one dates, having trips without Ryan, just the four of us. We've done that many, many times now. And we don't travel as a family, all five of us anymore together. So I'll do one-on-one trips with Ryan, and so will Chris, but we make sure that we have that time with the others. And we also, I thought we were doing a pretty good job keeping the communication lines open, but in recent years, we've done family therapy and we've unpacked some of the repercussions of growing up with Ryan and how it's been for Luke and Kate. And they are not unscathed. They are not unscathed. They love him fiercely. They cheer him on. And it's been a very, very hard journey. And they have their own PTSD from growing up with, a brother who is anxious and who has tantrum, who had to be restrained, and who they had sometimes had to help with restraining in the past. It's been a long time, but that's very, very traumatic. And then I know I developed my own anxiety disorder, living on eggshells, walking on eggshells, dealing with Ryan's anxiety and behaviors that, that doesn't make me, silly Sally fun mom. And, I wish it were different, but it's also made me a better human being alongside the anxiety that I carry.
I know it's funny because I feel like we've not followed the normal order that we go. And I really enjoy this because now we're just, JJ and I just get to ask questions because like we're just coming to what blows the wind blows us. Cause that's how we do all of our interviews is we don't have FYI, everybody, we don't have questions prepared. Like,
what about this?
What about this? So I think about the impact on the body from chronic stress and anxiety. Like you are like when he was born, your body started to adjust to the chronic stress. And when you said I lived on eggshells and I developed this. So it also probably means and you mentioned that it wasn't easy for your children, probably wasn't easy for your husband. No. And so what are the steps? Because this is, I think, what a lot of caregivers would say, you live in a state of chronic stress and during the caregiving time, no matter how long it is, long term, because he's 20 years old, 20 years of chronic stress. What's the impact been on you, your body, and how do you guys manage that to try to keep the negative side effects of stress at bay?
Well, I want to say that, for 17 years, I was a stay-at-home mom. And so I'm not on the level playing ground with the working moms who are caregiving as well. So I had some space, to be able to take care of myself, whether that was, I ran for many, many years. I've just recently stopped in the last year. And by run, I mean jog slowly. But I've always been committed to exercise. And so as my husband, we always made sure we had breaks to exercise and breaks with friends. I've always taken a girls' trip. I started that back when I was 24 with my high school besties, and I still do that trip. And so we've just always made those things a priority. And I didn't ever feel guilty about that either. I never felt guilty about taking a break or taking a girls' trip or having a date night with Chris or having a date night away with Chris, because I knew that I knew the statistics about marriage and disability families. And we decided to be intentional and to fight for our marriage. And thankfully I married a really, really, really great guy who's been hands-on and involved. He never made me feel like I go to work, I'm the breadwinner, you stay home, you handle Ryan, right? He never made me feel that way in 20 years. He's always been hands-on and he's always supported me. And So it's just, we've just been intentional and really worked on our mental health. We've done therapy. We've done couples therapy. I've done coaching. I've had, a wonderful coach, spiritual therapist in my life. I've done a lot of things. And I just want to say, we've had the resources to do this. And I know that it's not accessible to every caregiver. And I wish it were.
Yeah.
I wish every caregiver could have therapy or coaching. I wish every caregiver could afford a private babysitter, because we know that there isn't enough support and services for the disability community and for the caregiving community. There aren't enough respite caregivers.
That's right.
Yeah.
That are free and covered by the state or the county.
Absolutely.
It's terrible. And so I want to acknowledge that I have some privileges in my life that I wish every caregiver had.
Yeah. I think, and you know what? I respect that. I think anybody who's listening to you will respect to say, because I have privilege. There's not many people who could move to New York City for 2 months to have your husband be treated at the best cancer center in the US and probably the world. And did it financially impact us? 100%. But were we able to do it? Yes, we did. And so I don't apologize for it. And what we do, and I think what I know you do, is you advocate. You take your space and you know that you're privileged. And then you say, I want everybody else to have the same opportunity I had. And that's why I have so much respect for you and the organization, because you're bringing to light, you're helping to do resources and help people figure out, how can I do this? And you don't have to feel guilty if you have resources. It's what do we do with it to help other people who may not and get them access. So I really respect that. I think therapy is such an important piece. It was a piece that's been missing for Jason and myself, both when he got cancer, while we were going through it, and then figuring out our new normal, because our life changed after. And I think people to recognize the value that therapy has and can add to your life to decrease conflict, I think it's super important. So I want to go back, like Ryan's a year old, and then you find out, like, was it intentional? Was Kate intentional, or was it like, oh crap, Chris?
We're like, let's go back again.
Like, number one, Jessica, I'm just going to tell you, the fact that you and your husband are so intimate at this point is like, you're nailing it. Cause I'm like, I'm tired.
Right. Well, what was interesting that happened is after we had Ryan, and I mean, we were doing 1 million specialist visits that first year. I should have counted how many specialist visits we had, early interventions, therapists in our house, 2, 3, 4 times a week, whatever, for a few years. But I just had this burning desire for a third. And I just did. And I wasn't done, and Chris wasn't done. And I talked to other moms who had multiple kids and a child with PWS. And they said, you're going to be busy anyways. If you have a desire for a third, yes, it's a lot, but you're going to be busy anyways. And so if that desire doesn't go away, listen to that. So it didn't go away. And I think also because even though we were in the thick of it, right, with specialists, and, Ryan had some surgeries at age 1, he had the feeding tube his first year. I mean, it was very involved. Ryan didn't cry his whole first year of life. So I didn't have that stress of a crying baby or a baby in pain.
Sleep deprivation.
So easygoing. He was so, he was just so sweet, which was also heartbreaking at times, because I was like, do you know me? Do you see me? I know you do. I know you're bonded to me, but I'm not getting the reciprocity that you would normally get with a baby, right? But that contributed to like, well, I can do another baby, because it wasn't like a screaming newborn or baby for that, year. I'm trying to think. It was a little over a year, maybe a year and a half. He was a year and a half when I got pregnant with Kate. Also, to add to that story, though, was a year after Ryan was born, my mom was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer.
Gosh.
And she moved in with us, and we took care of her with the help of my sisters, and of course, hospice. We lost her 3 months later. And it was also after that I had that burning desire for a third child. I wanted multiple kids. I wanted Luke to have a sibling. I wanted Ryan to have more siblings to grow up with, to, love him, challenge him, stimulate him, and be there for him. And so I always say the third one sends you over the cliff, but it's worth it.
Oh. Hey ladies, I need to interrupt for just a second to share about the Sisterhood membership. It's basically a sale every day, and the best part, it's free. Here's the details. We're partnering with our friends at Benefit Hub and other care partners to save you money. With over 200,000 participating companies across the U.S. and abroad, you'll find discounts at your favorite local stores, huge savings on vacations, amazing deals on home, auto, and supplemental insurances, and everything in between. Go to confessionsofareluctantcaregiver.com to sign up, and then definitely tell your friends about it. They can join too. Trust me, there's a discount for everyone. And don't forget, it's free. Okay, back to confessing.
You have the 1-year-old, you have Ryan, and he of course is special needs, definitely. But your mom, are you the closest to your mom location wise? And so that's why she moves in with you all, because you've got a lot going on then.
You got a lot in your hands.
It doesn't make sense, does it? When I look back, I was the closest geography wise, but it wasn't, it just made sense because we had the space.
Okay.
And I was home, and I feel like I know a lot of medical things because of working in clinical drug trials and everything that we had been through with Ryan. And we knew it was short term. We knew it wasn't going to be like a 10-year battle, like with, I don't know, Parkinson's, or a 10-year battle with cancer. It was terminal. They said 6 months. In my mind, I thought it was going to be 3 or 4 months, and it was 3 months. So she only lived with us for 2 months, and we had hospice coming 3 times a week. My sister came every weekend. My other sister came also. So I wasn't doing it alone. It was a very intense summer, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
Okay, Jay, did you notice that she said my sister, and then she said
my other sister? So I need to know about that as well. So
how many do you have? 2 other sisters?
How many are you?
So many. How many do I have to count? So I grew up in the Brady Bunch on steroids, kind of a family where my parents each had 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl, found each other, had my sister Jennifer and I. Jennifer and I are 11 months apart. I was actually born 3 months early in 1970, if you can believe. I don't even know how I survived. And then my dad and mom split, and my dad married Barb, who they've been together now forever. And Barb had 2 teens at the time. So I have 6 half siblings, 1 full sister, and a stepbrother and a stepsister. Now, it was always my mom's side or my dad's side of the family. So all 10 of us weren't ever together in one room.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of sisters and brothers.
Oh, I love that.
That is interesting. So there was a lot of, it seems like with your other 2 sisters and your mom, there was support there to help you.
There was support. There was. I wasn't doing it on my own. I don't believe in being a martyr mom or martyr. No.
I'm so interested in your husband. You said he's wonderful.
I feel like he's got he's like Job. He's like Job.
Because I know if I had said, we've laughed, and mom she's stayed with us occasionally. Of course, mom has Parkinson's, but I'm like, no, if I raised my hand and said, hey girls, mom's going to move in. Hey, Dexter, mom, my husband, he'd be like, no, I'm going to move, So your husband, we will give him some accolades as well, that he's, you guys are amazing. So that is really, that's great.
I am very lucky, very blessed with who I married. Yeah. Very true.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to go forward. Natalie, am I okay to go forward?
Keep going.
We're backwards, we're forwards, we're backwards.
It's so much fun. I have so many notes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I like to jot down things that I love.
Out of these years, because Ryan is 20 now, over the years, what are the things that you saw or felt like were missing? Because it's led you on a mission, basically. It's changed your life to want to help others. So tell us about that.
Well, I think, the birth of We Are Brave Together wasn't born out of my own scarcity. It was actually born out of my own abundance, because I had invested in community and creating community, whether that was in the Prader-Willi Syndrome world or within our school district, finding other, disability families to connect with, to navigate, the school district, or navigate the regional center, which is in the state of California, is what our state agencies are called. There's 21 in the state of California. Anyway, navigating the systems, right, that support our kids is quite a mountain to climb. And so you have to have other people in your life to go to, and you have to have other people in your life who get it. Because even though I consider myself a girlfriend's girlfriend, and even though I had great girlfriends coming into this, diagnosis with Ryan, there are some people who don't get it and can't get it and have a disconnect with your pain. There are losses and changes in relationships and friendships, and just what I had experienced and what Chris and I had created for ourselves in terms of community and having other families around us with the same diagnosis, or just, with diagnoses. It was powerful to know that we weren't alone. And I wanted that. I want that for every caregiver, to have community, to have connections with other people who get it, who can ask anything and say anything and not be judged. And if you need to seek resources, if you need to vent about your day, if you feel your child is awful today and tomorrow again, you'll think that they're amazing, fine. We will listen to you. We will support you. We will validate you. And because I had experienced that, and not, I had, of course, experienced invalidation of people who didn't get it, I sought to create something for other moms just to be able to show up to, so that they wouldn't have to recreate community for themselves.
Yeah. Wow.
So you have groups around the country then, though, correct? And are you within the US, or do you go further?
We go farther. So our organization represents all 50 states and 24 countries with our membership. We're up to about 2,300 caregiving moms. We have 25 connection circle leaders. Some of those lead for everyone in We Are Brave. We call them the all member virtual connection circles. We have one that's diagnosis specific. That's a virtual one. And we have, most of them are by city or state or country. So we have one in New Zealand and one in Australia. Both are virtual for anyone in those countries. And then we have San Diego, Los Angeles, Orange County, Long Beach. We've got a couple in Kansas, Texas. I'm trying to think where else. Lots of places.
Do you have any in the, because we were on UK Health Radio. Hello, UK listeners.
Hello.
Do you have any in any groups currently going on, or any connections over there? Because I bet there's all kinds of folks who would love to be connected.
Yes, I have had people reach out to me who are in the UK. We don't yet have a connection circle leader. So if someone is listening and they would like to be a connection circle leader, wherever you are in the world, honestly, for We Are Brave, we train you, we have curriculum, we support you, we mentor you, you're part of a leadership team. And it's a really wonderful experience if you have the time to do that, whether it's virtual or in person or a combination of both. We think in person is best, but we know that sometimes virtual is all that some people can do.
Right. Well, and We Are Brave is not only just for a specific diagnosis.
It's not. It's for, if you are a mom caring for a child, teenager or adult, any age, with literally any diagnosis, whether it's common or your child is the only one with that diagnosis. And if your child struggles with mental health challenges, even, which we don't usually sort of fall under special needs or disability category.
No, we don't.
you are welcome to be a part of We Are Brave Together. So if you have a child any age with any struggle, we welcome you. We have a chair waiting for you.
Wow. That is absolutely
all
wonderful.
Inclusive.
It is all inclusive. It is. If you're a sister caregiver, a grandmother caregiver, an aunt caregiver, you're welcome to be a part of it.
Is there any guys?
There isn't. We do have some resources that we can direct dads to if they're looking for that. We have tried. We've done some dads nights. We did also a support group for 1 year, but it's hard to get the dads to come, right, even though they need support.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of that may be just because of culture. I mean, if you think about it, the moms are, I mean, you're the mama bear of your tribe. I mean, if you really think about it, you said, I am the most diligent as far as I am the most like keeping the eyes on the, whether it's the refrigerator or whatever, you have been the mama bear. And most of the moms or the women tend to be the lead caregiver. Now, I don't want to exclude any of our guys because there are guys on here who are caregivers. We love you. Like Phil Cohen.
We love you.
Yeah, all kinds of people. We know you.
Thank you.
But you're right. It is harder to draw them out and that's a hard conversation to have because then you've got other stuff, the man stuff.
Right. I think it's important to acknowledge the dads and that the dads do need support and they need to be surrounded by other dads who understand what they carry. And
it sounds like to me, and this is something I love about your story, is that everything you've done has been done intentionally. When you talk about your marriage and not wanting to be the statistic and wanting to watch Ryan, wanting to watch the kids as they all grew up, you knew what you wanted the outcome to be, Jessica. So tell me about where you all are today, but also where you see your future. Like because you're intentional, what's the plan?
That's a good question. For my family or for We Are Brave Together?
Oh no, let's go family. Let's go back caregiving.
We're back to family.
Okay, let's go back to family. What I envision, well, Chris and I have always talked, my husband Chris and I have always talked that Ryan would live separately at some point. I don't want to be his forever caregiver, neither does Chris. I don't feel bad about that until I stop and think about the moment when I would drop him off and then I could just bawl. But I just think it's age appropriate for Ryan to live separately at some point in his 20s.
Yeah.
I think it's better for him to be set up before Chris and I go or anything happens to us. We don't expect Luke and Kate to be his caregiver. They will have to be co-conservators and they will have to be decision makers, but we will not expect them to be his daily caregiver unless they choose it. And we will have things, set up so that he can be taken care of. We have a special needs trust, currently working on updating that. And, we want Luke and Kate to be able to live their life. And my daughter, both are so sweet. They're amazing kids. Kate has offered to live with Ryan. And I said, well, not before you're 30. Definitely not before you're 30. You need to go to college. You need to travel. You need to experience life. We're not going to just let you step right into that after high school or after college.
Yeah.
You need to go and live your life. And we will not let you take on that role before you're 30. And maybe by then her mind will change, or maybe it won't. And it will be a beautiful thing. But it's not, caregiving for Ryan is not easy psychologically. And they get to choose. That's what we've said. I know every family is different, but that's what we've said from the beginning. And I look forward to the day when I have freedom and we are empty nesters-ish, where we have more freedom to come and go and less responsibilities on a daily basis.
So right now you have a care team. And I know people talk about that takes time to put together, but you have gotten, now we're going to talk about the 16 years. You have gotten, and I love that you say, I can't feel guilty about a lot of things. When you talk about going on vacation with the 2 kids or taking Ryan separately, you have gotten to a point where you've been able, you guys left. I say you left, but you came back.
You left.
You left.
Tell me
away.
About what got you to that point, courage-wise, and tell me what happened when you got back. I mean,
yeah. What was it like on the way up, while you're gone, on the way back?
Okay, so what you're referring to is that Chris and I got away to London in the countryside, and we were gone for 7 days. We hadn't been away alone for that extended amount of time in 16 years since our 10-year wedding anniversary when we went to Mexico for 6 days. So Chris and I have always done date nights away, always. We've done 2 nights away. I don't know if we've ever done 3 nights away together, but we've done 3 nights, 4 nights, 5 nights with Luke and Kate away from Ryan. Even though I come from a large family, even though Chris has family and my in-laws were very, very helpful when the kids were little. We lost my mother-in-law when Kate was 3. So we've been through a lot. Anyways, I won't go down that path, but we don't have family that comes and takes over. And so from an early stage of our marriage and family life, we started hiring people. And then we started using the respite hours that were given to us.
Right.
And we just always have. And we've hired, aides in the school district that wanted extra hours. We've just always networked and tried, trusted, and trained new people to work with Ryan. Have there been flops? Of course. Have there been people that have come into our home that were not the right fit? Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But we were always willing to trust and to try and to train new people because we wanted those breaks. We wanted those times with our other kids. We wanted those times together, and we weren't going to wait until family offered. And, I think too, I don't want to throw a family under the bus. Once Ryan started engaging in difficult behaviors, we were afraid to ask family.
That's fair.
And nobody was necessarily offering. Maybe I was too vocal and too open and blogging about our journey. But anyways, we just over time always built or added on or exchanged, our care team. So, when people leave, it's very hard that you love and trust, but they move on to other things or full-time teaching jobs or marriage and kids or what have you. But we have a couple caregivers that have been in our life, one for 10, one for 6, and one for 4. And we hold on to them and treat them like family. Right. And I'm just so grateful that they love Ryan and they love our family and that, they're willing to do this. So we start with, okay, 1 night away, how did it go with that caregiver? Then you try it out with another caregiver. And then you get enough people on your team that you can split it up and you can be gone for 4, 5, 6, 7 days. So it was a process. It took guts for me to ask for that much extended help. That took a while, even though we've had these people in our life for so long. I had to gradually build up to us being gone for 7 days. And when I told, Ryan doesn't mind when we're gone. He separates easily as long as he knows the schedule of who's coming and that there's a variety of people. If there was one person for 7 days, he would not be happy. So we break it up, and then if we can get like grandpa to come and take him out to dinner one night, to help break it up as well, like that kind of thing, it really helps. What was hard this summer, we did 2 big trips this year. It was really, really, really big and really extra for our family, but we took Luke and Kate to Maui. This was before the fires. And when I sat down to tell Ryan 2 days before we left, because you can't tell Ryan anything like that way in advance, he cried. And he said, "Why aren't you taking me? Why don't I get to go?" I could have lost it, but I stayed composed and I said, "Ryan, I think you prefer one-on-one trips with me or with Dad. And it's hard to lock a kitchen on a family vacation. And I don't know that we can lock this kitchen and keep you safe. So we're not bringing you because it's not safe." And he said, "Do you need a break from me?" And I said, "Well, Ryan, when we take a vacation without you, I get to sleep in, and I don't get to sleep in if I'm taking care of you." So I tried to word it as kindly as possible and be honest. But that was a hard conversation. And he cried for about 10 minutes and then he adjusted and then he was fine after that.
Yeah.
Wow. And I did take him on a one-on-one trip and Chris did take him on a one-on-one trip to make it up to him. And he loved it.
Yeah. So when you guys got back from your 7 days, everybody did the house catch on fire?
Anything
you planned
down
for this 16 years was because people have guilt and they have regret and they worry, did I make the right decision? What was the end result?
The end result was beautiful. I came home to candles lit, a clean house, the diffuser going, and, kids happy to see us. Everything went well. There was no emergency. Everything went beautifully.
I love that. And what it did was it just reinforced that you guys will be able to leave again and it won't take 16 years to take another 7 to 10. And maybe you'll go 10 days.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Maybe you'll go, please. Oh my gosh, what if you went for like 2 weeks? Oh my gosh.
Right. Well, and the other piece to this that I want to, hopefully encourage or inspire caregivers when it depends on your child, right? But I think it's good for your child to see that they can survive without you for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Or 5 or 7. So whether you take a day off or 2 days off or a week, if you have that luxury like we did, it's empowering for your kid that they can survive, whether it's the other parent that takes over for the day or 2 days or grandma or a friend or a babysitter. I think it's a win-win. It really, really, really is. You can really spin it instead of saying, oh, I feel guilty, because I call it false guilt, because unless you made a deal with yourself that you would never leave your child or the person that you're caring for because it's wrong, because it's against your values, then there's actually nothing to feel guilty about, because you're not going to leave them with somebody who is not qualified. Does it mean that everything goes perfectly? No. And we've had things not go right and things have gone really wrong when Chris and I have been away for a date night. But that doesn't make me feel like I can never leave again because mistakes happened.
Yeah. That's
but
right.
Caregivers do feel that way. They feel like if anything goes wrong, I am a terrible person and I'm never leaving my child again or whoever it is that you're caring for. And that's just not the truth.
Oh, I hate that we have to end because our time, I'm like, oh, we just started. But, I think what you said, because you mentioned, you can leave your child. The reality is this relates to everyone. Like I would leave Jason to himself because I needed to walk to Central Park for 2 hours and have 2 hours of sanity to myself. Or Emily was allowed to she would take a 2-hour bath. I don't know how their water bill was through the roof. But she would take a 2-hour bath and she just needed that. You can't feel guilty. And here's the thing. No one is ever going to do it like you do it. So let that go. Just let it go. And if it goes wrong, as long as nobody gets hurt, really, I'm talking about really hurt.
Yes.
The house doesn't burn down. Everything can be resolved.
We can recover.
So Jay, it is time.
Okay.
It is time for sister questions.
So I love to laugh in our most difficult situations. And sometimes I have difficult situations with mom when we get out in public. So it sounds like you've said, Ryan has a lot of anxiety. We can have some behavioral issues. How do you get through those? Like, is there one that kind of pops up in your mind? Because parents, we have those issues, one that pops into mind. And how do you handle that?
Well, sometimes I handle it well and sometimes I don't. And I think just in recent years, I had to come to the place of acceptance that I will never be able to control his anxiety or his behaviors, even with all the behavior training, even with everything that I know, it's going to show up no matter what. And it doesn't mean, and it can activate and trigger me. And that doesn't mean I haven't done my own growth work. It just means I'm human and I'm his mom.
Yeah.
So I will confess that I am not good at finding humor in those really intense moments. Maybe after the fact, when we talk about certain scenarios, then I might be able to find the humor with the help of my family. But I I mean, there's definitely a lot of cute things that Ryan does and says that are so sweet and make me smile and warm my heart. And I'm so grateful that I do get to have those moments with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's, he says to me all the time, did the moms feel loved? Who says that? Who says that?
I love
He
that.
says that after so many We Are Brave retreats and events and things that I've been a part of. And I come home, Mom, did the moms feel loved?
Oh,
I mean, he's just a doll.
Yeah.
It's totally fine to not be okay. Like, I honestly, the meltdown, especially, and I think it's even harder. It's societally accepted for toddlers to have a tantrum. It is not normal to see a young adult have an equivalent tantrum. And that's hard when you can't control it. And I think the first step is I accept that I can't control this.
Right. Yeah.
He's going to have to work his way through it. He's going to have to do the full thing. Okay. Yep. One more question, and it's going to be fast. What is your favorite guilty pleasure that you do just for you?
Favorite guilty pleasure? Being in bed and watching TV or, Netflix or Hulu. Just like, yes.
Favorite
And if
show.
I'm really guilty, like a glass of wine.
Oh, that's nice.
Favorite show? Okay. Right now I'm watching Abbott Elementary, but my favorite all time is Ted Lasso.
Oh, hands down.
I mean, and we did a private Ted Lasso tour on our trip.
Oh,
We'll talk later. It was awesome. Yes. I'll send you pictures.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Jessica, this is fantastic.
Thank you so much.
We love you. And we think you are so amazing. We are going to have all the resources in our show notes, and we'll have it on all of our socials to make sure that you can get connected if you are in the UK and lots of other countries. We don't care where you're from. We're absolutely all inclusive. I know Jessica loves that too. And so definitely connect with Jessica. And thank you so much. And send our love to your husband and to all of your children.
Thank you so much. This has been so great. Can we do this again? This was wonderful.
Absolutely.
This was wonderful.
Sister call. I know, right? Total sister call.
Great. I love it.
Oh, thanks so much, everybody, for listening in. And we will, until we confess again, we will see you next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, friends, that's a wrap on this week's confession. Again, thank you so much for listening. But before you go, please take a moment to leave us a review and tell your friends about the Confessions podcast. Don't forget to visit our website to sign up for our newsletter. You'll also find the video recording of all of our episodes on the Confessions website and our YouTube channel. Don't worry, all the details are included in the show notes below. We'll see you next Tuesday when we come together to confess again. Till then, take care of you. Okay, let's talk disclaimers. You may be surprised to find out, but we are not medical professionals and are not providing any medical advice. If you have any medical questions, we recommend that you talk with a medical professional of your choice. As always, my sisters and I at Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver have taken care in selecting the speakers, but the opinions of our speakers are theirs alone. The views and opinions stated in this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting company. This podcast is copyrighted, and no part can be reproduced without the express written consent of the Sisterhood of Care, LLC. Thank you for listening to the Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver podcast.